Welcome to Money Matters, the podcast that focuses on how to use the money you have, make the money you need, and save the money you want. Now, here is your host, Miss Kim Chapman.
Welcome to another edition of Money Matters. Are you hot? I'm definitely hot. This Louisiana heat is stifling, but what can you do about it? Is your AC, is it running all the time? Are your energy bills through the roof? Are you just at wit's end trying to figure out what to do? Because turning off the AC is definitely not an option. Well, today joining me is Joseph Long with Relief Heating and Air. He's going to give us some tips. He's going to help us out with this AC unit issue, right? Welcome, Mr. Long.
Hi, how you doing?
I am doing great. So it's so hot. I don't think my unit ever turns off. And so I'm afraid to look at that energy bill. So I hope today you can give us some useful tips about what we can do just to kind of keep the energy bills down, maintain our AC units, just so that we can get a lot of efficiency. So you've got some good information for us?
Yes, ma'am. I sure do.
So give us a little information about you and Relief Heating and Air. How did you even get into this business? I mean, I imagine if you have a wife, she loves you because she never have to worry about coming home and worrying about the AC being off.
Yes, ma'am. Well, it was something I wanted to start later on in life, but it started a little bit earlier than that. I just kind of jumped in and do it myself. Started out doing it straight out of high school, though, and working for some refrigeration companies and some other smaller AC companies as well. But whenever I decided to make the jump, it's something that it was scary at first, but I think it's well worth it in the end. So,
bet your house stays cold.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Of course. So let's talk about maintenance because I'm sure it's important. Tell us how important is it to have your AC unit maintenance?
So what's important about having an AC unit maintenance is going ahead and having it checked on a tune-up. A lot of times I find it dirty whenever I first pull up to a house and do my first tune-up on it. And it's been neglected for X amount of years. And it just needs a full deep clean to have it running at its maximum efficiency.
So what's really involved in that maintenance checkup?
So first thing we'll usually do is we'll head into the attic or into a closet space, wherever it's set up at. We'll go ahead and check for any signs of air leaks, make sure there's no air leaks, make sure it's getting its maximum efficiency throughout your home. We want to make sure that all the wiring and all your electrical components and everything are all intact and not messed up, no burnt marks or no exposed wiring or anything like that. We want to make sure your blower wheel's clean just so you don't have to deal with allergens or anything. And we also make sure that, everything's running smoothly in an attic or in a closet space just because, if things start ramping down, sometimes it could be a struggle on coming down on temperature. The other thing we'll check is your outside components and everything too. You will have the outside unit most likely dirty from a lot of grass and stuff as well. And then also making sure you have your air filter changed out, and you want to have those changed out usually, hopefully monthly or bi-monthly. And you kind of can judge it on upon yourself whenever it mainly gets dirty. So,
all right. So how often should you have your AC unit maintenance? Is that something yearly or even more frequently than that?
It's typically more yearly. We usually go ahead and have a spring or summer check for the AC, and we'll usually get into whenever it gets cooler outside during the fall and winter time, we'll go ahead and do the heater check and everything. So we come out usually twice a year for that. What we expect every single time we go to a tune-up is to make sure that we're not dealing with having to return back until that following year. But we can't control if there's any hiccups in between. So we go ahead and make sure also your pressures are good on the system and everything too, because you shouldn't have a loss of refrigerant pressures. It should always stay within range.
So let's talk about those hiccups. What are some warning signs that you're about to have a problem with your AC, or we need to have you come back out and look at it again?
So hiccups you have on the AC is like I can check if a condenser fan motor is going bad or a blower motor might be going bad. I can tell you keep an eye on it for a while, if or it's your choice if you want to go ahead and change it out at that time. But if it's doing fine at the time, sometimes that heat can really do some damage to it. Also, some capacitors I've seen swell up even though they'll check out good. Um, Also, if you go ahead and let's say there is a leak from a vibration or something over time on how aged that coil might be in the attic, or maybe somewhere down the line, if something happens outside and it just springs a leak somewhere for the refrigerant, then I will have to come back out, and that's whenever those hiccups might happen.
All right. So, what are some of the do's and don'ts? What are some of the things that, as consumers or homeowners, that we're doing wrong that we could be contributing to the downfall of our AC unit?
So I would think the main thing is making sure the filters are changed, and making sure you stay on top of it as best as you can. I know a lot of people tend to forget about it. And then also whenever it is, like I was saying, around the summertime area, you will go ahead and have, people cutting grass and stuff like that for the outside unit. Just try to cut away from the grass, or if you have a lawn care guy, just make sure they're cutting away from the grass, and it kind of eliminates that area where it will have a chance of having a whole bunch of buildup of debris in your condenser, and it'll help it not struggle as much on cooling down.
So you talked about AC filters. Now, I've been to Walmart on that aisle, and it's just rows and rows of filters, as little as $2 and then up to, $25, $30. Of course, I thought I was doing the right thing, and I was buying the expensive one, all white and pretty and thick. And I had an AC guy tell me, this 99-cent one will do. What do you say about filters?
So I say use it to your own perspective. Some AC filters are not designed to be in every system. Some of them say they protect from allergens, bacteria, and everything, but it's really depends on the thickness. The thickness, you don't want to wear out your AC system at all. That's why I say it's better to change it out if you're going to do it monthly or bi-monthly. They say every 3 months, but it typically ranges depending on how dirty and how fast it gets. I normally stay with the regular pleated filters, and I mean, it doesn't have anything special to them at all. It's just to protect you from that dust and debris getting into the system and protecting you from allergens already. A lot of people would get those like little mesh filters, the cheap ones, 99-cent ones, and those work out fine too. You just got to make sure you keep them changed out more frequently and make sure there's nothing getting past that. So
I got a question. If you change it, because I'll change mine. Sometimes I try and do it monthly. Just kind of depends on if the mine is working and I remember. But most of the time when I change mine, I don't see anything on it. I don't see any dust. So is that an indication? Should I leave it in a little bit longer, or is it good to just change it regardless?
So typically, I would say this, if you hold it up right next to a new one versus the one that's already been in there and you see a slight little bit of change in color in it, I would go ahead and just replace it anyway, because you're really protecting yourself from allergies more than anything at that point. If it's not that clean even after a month, then I would go ahead and think about replacing it. So.
All right. So with the stifling temperatures, we can't keep our air set at a certain temperature. It just seems like it runs all day. What is the best thing to maintenance your AC? Because I can remember 2 years ago when we had those triple digits, for days and days in a row. It just seems like it may be 9, 10 o'clock at night before you could get your AC to really shut off. Is that doing your AC harm by letting it run all day? What do you recommend we do to combat these stifling temperatures?
So I would go ahead and set your temperatures between 75 to 78 degrees during the day.
78? Okay.
I know it's a lot. If you go ahead and have it at that high, and then whenever you're about to come home, they even have Wi-Fi thermostats you can go ahead and get installed if you wanted to now these days, and you can actually set it where you want it to, and then by the time you get home, it should be cooled down to that temperature.
I will say, in terms of technology, that is the best purchase I think I've made in the last year or two. I absolutely love it. especially ladies. I'll just throw this out there. If you go to sleep,
Yep.
you're hot, then you're cold, then you're hot, then you're cold. You can control it from your phone. You can turn it back on. You can turn it back off. Best purchase ever. So since we're saying that, is there any particular remote, or digital or Bluetooth device that you recommend?
I've been seeing a lot of people wanting the Honeywell home thermostats. Usually they'll buy it online, ask me to come install it. It definitely is sometimes a little bit cheaper than going ahead and getting the company to go ahead and buy the thermostats and themselves because of the upcharges on them and everything. So it does help save a little bit of money.
Yeah. I tell you, I absolutely love it. But I do have to ask, am I doing any harm? Because sometimes I feel like a little kid. 1 minute I'm like, oh, up 2 degrees, 3, which I know I wouldn't do if I had to literally get up out the bed and go and turn it off and on. It would stay at one temperature. But because I have access to it, am I doing any harm, to my unit because maybe 1 minute I'm up, the next minute I'm down?
I would go ahead and try to regulate it as best as you can and not try to mess with it as much. There is also set schedules you can put on your thermostats as well. Some thermostats have a set schedule and where you don't even have to touch it at all. So it kind of helps out where you don't even have to really worry about even what the temperature is in your house. You know it's going to be that temperature, and whenever you do have that problem, whenever it's time to call. So.
All right, so you gave us the devastating news of trying to keep that AC set at about maybe 78 degrees. I'm going to have to really think about that one. But what are some things that maybe we can do in addition to that to help keep the home cool so that we're not working that unit so much?
I would go ahead and just I know a lot of people like the windows open during the day and everything. I would try to eliminate that a little bit just because, we're in Louisiana. It's a lot of heat coming through those windows. So just try to keep those blinds and curtains closed a little bit more. Just make sure you don't have a lot of traffic going in and out and keeping the door open all the time. Want to keep it closed as much as possible. You want to also make sure everything is staying up to date on your system and you're having those yearly checks, because if you don't have those yearly checks, 9 times out of 10 you're going to wind up with a problem. I go to a lot of people's houses for tune-ups and everything, and I'll go there, let's say if they do have a hiccup on their system, I'll go there months later and they don't have a problem. They say that it's much cooler. They got to even run the temperature a little bit higher because of how cool it feels in their home. They also have some people that I don't even have to see until that following year to do an AC check on it. So
now I know that AC units are not the most, inexpensive item that you can purchase. So how can you determine at your AC it's time to replace it versus putting a Band-Aid on it?
So at that point where you would see that you need AC replacement, then keep on repairing it, is if I come out there every, let's say, a week or two and something's going on, or like every few months and something's going on, it's getting to that point. You might hear noise changes in your system. It might sound a little louder, a little rough whenever it starts up or stops. You might seem like it is running all day. That's due to age depreciation and everything too. Then you will also have it to where you're spending more out of your pocket, where as soon as you use all that money to spend on repairs, you could have already probably had another AC system installed. Typically they range from about 10 to 15 years now. I know they used to be with the older system they used to survive 20 to 25 years, somewhere around there. Now all these systems come with warranties and stuff like that, so it really, really helps out on money costs. So, the most effective part you're going to have is going to be coming from the parts.
So I want to ask you a question. In terms of home warranties, I know there are a lot of different companies out there. I get different reviews. Some people say, oh, I love my home warranty company. And I have people that say, it's worthless. It's a piece of trash. They never fix anything. What is your take on home warranties? In terms of when you've had to go out to see clients, have you had any success? Are you better off just paying for it yourself?
I didn't really have any success with home warranties too much. I've had some customers, they usually try to use home warranties, but I offer them, it's better to go ahead. If you're going to go ahead and replace something and try to offer a home warranty, you might as well go ahead and get your system replaced, and you have a warranty on your system. Typically, systems come with 10-year warranties now if it goes ahead and is registered. Whether you're registering it or the company is registering it that's installing it for you. But they even have some of them that are even 15 years on certain parts in their systems as well. So, I mean, you really, you can take their pick on it, but they don't really help out too much.
So I know that this is your busiest time of the year, but I have to ask this conspiracy question. Why is it that it seems like the AC always breaks on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday? Do you find that that's your busiest days?
I find that is my busiest days, that's for sure. I feel like it's just because people are just out at work most of the time, and then they're not really focused on it as much. So whenever they're at home and finally relaxing, they just seem like the temperature's not getting down to what it needs to be at. And that's whenever they try to really call somebody out to get somebody to fix something. And then sometimes it's depending on the heat. It's not really what's wrong with your system. It's just trying to cool down, and it's just the heat that's happening. Because I know we've been having a bad heat index in Louisiana here lately.
When don't we have a bad heat index? 2 days in January. That's probably that's probably about it. Oh my God, it's just been so hot. Almost lost my train of thought. So when we're talking about refrigerants, let's talk a little bit about that. How often, if you don't have a leak, just assuming you've got a perfectly good working unit, I imagine the Freon runs out regardless. Like, how often should you expect to need to have refrigerant replaced in your unit?
So the only time you should have a refrigerant replaced in your unit is if we're going ahead and changing out a coil or a compressor or anything like that, messing with the refrigeration system. You should never have to go ahead and recharge your system up. If you have to recharge your system up, 9 times out of 10, you have to look for that leak and you have to find it to get it replaced.
Is there anything in particular that causes leaks that we could do to prevent that?
Not really too much. A lot of it's just wear and tear over time and just off of vibration of the system whenever it's up and running. And it could have weak joints or anything. Even that's why they have warranties. I mean, it can be something even as simple as from the factory, and the joints are not just welded together real well.
Okay. Well, good information. Any final tips that you want to be able to give to our consumers in terms of how we can beat the heat, how we can decrease our energy bills?
I would just say go ahead and keep up with your system and make sure it's checked yearly and that your filter stays changed out monthly or bi-monthly.
All right. And of course, if they need more information, if they want to have you come out and check out their system, go ahead and do a plug for Relief.
All right. You can go ahead and tune in and call us at 225-244-0520. And we offer $95 maintenance, and we can also do any kind of blower wheel cleanings or anything for you, and we can service all your needs.
All right. Well, Mr. Long, thank you so much. I don't know if I can do that 78 degrees, but I'll definitely make sure I'll change the filters.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
It's time for Blueprint Building Blocks. Small changes that lead to big financial wins. Let's stack up for success.
Check and replace your air filters. Dirty filters strain your system, and they can actually increase your utility bill. Adjust your thermostat settings when you're away. You heard it here. Somewhere between 72 and 78 degrees is ideal. And then clear debris around your outdoor unit. Keep leaves, grass, and dirt away to ensure an efficient airflow.
That's a wrap on today's Blueprint Building Blocks. Stay on track with your financial journey. Subscribe to the Money Matters podcast and visit neighborsfcu.org/financial wellness for more tools to help you build a strong financial future.